Hey everyone, Griever here, bringing you guys the latest gaming review, and that is of course for Jump Force. Jump Force is the game of this said review. Now, I know this is a little late. I know I said probably by the end of March I tried to get around to it, and there's a very good reason for that. Did not platinum it. Probably won't for a good long while. One day I might go back and do that, because I did get the multiplayer trophies, just in case you guys are wondering. Oh, is it because of the online aspect? Because we all know my feelings and most of other gamers' feelings about both online trophies and multiplayer online trophies. Those are two of the worst things on a trophy list. Now, nobody's a fan of that, but I managed to grind through that. But it's just a certain level of grinding and stuff, and I waited and put it to this way. I haven't played Jump Force in 3 weeks, and I just figured, okay, you know what? I'll just get the review out. I don't plan to go back to it and platinum it. As with most of my other reviews, I try to get the platinum before doing the review, and a lot of the time that makes the review a little late. But I like to have that little platinum stamp there on the thumbnail and in the review, but not this time, guys. Not this time. But before we get into trophies, that's always at the end, we're going to talk about the story. The gameplay and the story. Now, this game has mixed reviews, from positive to negative to everywhere in between anime fans, manga fans, gamers, and casuals alike. We have a multitude of categories and a multitude of how they managed to make such a shit show of a game. Boggles the mind. It truly does. Because I know that a lot of people judge the simplicity or the ridiculousness of things like Dragon Ball Z, Hunter x Hunter, Naruto, Bleach, things like that. We all have our gripes and our complaints. It's only honestly because there is a multitude of other media out there now, and we've all grown through anime at this point. Before, there wasn't really much of an option. You either liked Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon, or you didn't, you know? Here, though, we have in this story, somehow they managed to collaborate so many different characters. And the problem with the story is everything. They couldn't even come up with a good concept. First off, create a character is great. Keep it away from a collaboration game. Collaboration games do not require them. I don't want to play Marvel vs. Capcom or Marvel vs. DC or any of those type of titles and then be forced, pretty much, to play a story mode with my character. And the problem is that they tried to make it so that this character was vital and you'd want to play as this person by giving them customization, cheap assets, like, oh, you can wear Ace's hat and you can also have Ichigo's sword on your back sort of idea. Gimmicks to try to get you invested into making a cool fan art that you always wanted to draw if you had the talent sort of aspect. And that gets old quickly. And the fact is that you basically are a copycat character where you take everybody else's moves and mesh together some of the best ones, try to make the most OP character. But that's not what I want to do. I want to play in different modes as different characters. I want to play as Ichigo, and I want to play as Goku. That's what I want to do. I want to play as Himura Kenshin. And I want to level them up and use their moves. Now, don't get me wrong, this option is there. But for story mode, it isn't. You are forced to use your created character for more of the game than you truly realize. And the fact of the matter is that this story is terrible. They couldn't even come up with a great, even a good reason for all these teams to work together, for all these characters to mesh. They came up with very few good interactive scenes between these characters. The only one that I could originally think of, two actually, was the confrontation between Rukia and Yusuke, because of course Soul Reapers and such, and Yu Yu Hakusho, that's kind of a shared concept sort of idea, and so they're kind of baffled by each other a little bit. That wasn't bad, but never fleshed out. And then we had all the swordsmen meeting up, Zoro trying to teach Asta, I think it was, or something like that. And then, Himura Kenshin, the Batosai comes up with his Hiten Mitsurugi, and he's like, alright, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to flex my muscles, and I'm going to teach you all how to use a sword. I'm the original master swordsman in this group, bitch. So, that was cool. But the fact of the matter is, that's twice. In an entire run of a game, with a cast of over 40 of our favorite manga and anime characters, they somehow managed to have very little fun interaction between them. And even when that happened, none of it really amounted to anything. There was no subplots or side plots or anything like that. There was no interesting dialogue really to follow. And the core part where, oh, well, there's jump worlds, and they all kind of mesh together now because reasons. A Master Hand figure from Super Smash Brothers. They basically pulled the Super Smash Brothers Brawl storyline. And they basically said, okay, basically this is what we've got. And we meshed them together, and everybody's cool with it, and that's basically the story. But it's all happening on Earth. You're telling me, especially with the addition of Light Yagami from Death Note here and Ryuk and stuff, they had the potential. Like, characters like Sosuke Aizen and people like that, and yes, I know there's a scene and blah, 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 but it doesn't amount to anything. It would have been so much better. They could have, you're telling me, with all this creative genius between all these series, 40 characters, and nobody could come up with something better than, okay, basically a demon god thing person who wants to destroy all the multiverse of Marvel or DC or take your pick. And the shonen heroes are here to stop it. Like, you can have that at the end, but I wanted something more from this story. I expected greatness. You don't make a PS4 title with some of the most beloved characters and give me this. You know what would have been better? If they had completely avoided the story altogether. The game would have actually been better. Without the jump force thing at all. And forget the created character, forget the storyline. Make a Soul Calibur Mortal Kombat arcade gameplay and then a free roam for missions. Done. That game would have been better without a story because this story was crap. The graphics were okay, but the story itself was just not enjoyable. I found myself skipping most of everything because I just didn't care. So story gets a big fat 0 from me. There was very little in the way of redeeming qualities there. Moving on to gameplay, I mean, it's something I grew into. I did not like the fact that you would make a 3-person team but share one health bar. I thought it would have been a lot cooler. Like, I get the support attack style, but I think it would have been a lot cooler to have almost like a party of 3, and you could still switch between the characters, have another gauge for that, switching between the characters, and they could have separate, life bars, health bars, and then it'd be a 3-on-3 battle. The battles would be longer, you'd be more intense, and you could make some really cool combos and stuff. The gameplay, I grew into it, and I found myself, in my first 20 hours, I wasn't enjoying it. I found that the CPUs were really OP and cheap. Once again, the story mode was, you were severely underleveled to play story mode. Even if you caught up to all the missions, you had to replay missions and power level your character, unless you had a really good knack for these type of games, and maybe I don't. I found the CPUs to be really cheap, and the control schemes were not explained well in tutorials at all. And then after the 20-hour mark, I finally started to get into it a little more, but then I realized I was doing basically what the CPU was doing. Guard, and I got the Kuzu Ryosen from Rurouni Kenshin. And I cheapened my way through story mode, through missions, and through victory. I use a combination of that move and Shishio's final attack with the flame element, which I forget what that is exactly called, the final secret sword. And that is how I win all my battles. I hit, punch, kick, and then I use a Kuzu Ryosen. And that's how I win every single battle. And that's when I realized I wasn't even having fun. This wasn't a game that I was actually getting better at. I was just finding a way to do what the CPU was doing to me. And wasn't enjoyable. The gameplay was mediocre. The fun aspects that we got to saw from trailers and promotional materials, like Yugi summoning Slifer the Sky Dragon, was awesome. Luffy going Gear 4th, Super Saiyan God form, Ichigo going Bankai. These things were awesome in theory, and they did a fine job of making them look cool. Unfortunately, it's just not... It doesn't live up to any hype. The Tenkaichi series in Dragon Ball is far better than this. The Xenoverse fighting style is better than this. There is a multitude of better fighting games on the PS4. Hell, Dynasty Warrior style would have been better than this. The One Piece Pirate Warrior series, along with Bleach Soul Resurrection, was more enjoyable gameplay once you got the feel for it and got good, was more enjoyable than this. And it's such a shame because I can imagine having hours of endless fun running around as some of my favorite characters in Jump Force and doing a Dynasty Warrior style. So this just does not do it for me. The gameplay itself is just, once again, mediocre. After 20 hours, you just find a way you find your own loopholes and your own comfortable way of cheating opponents. That's all you do. And then we have the roster of characters. This roster, which includes 40 characters, which is really impressive. I think it's 40 or 48 characters, and with the DLC ones or something, which I don't even know if they're out yet. But first off, this roster of characters is fine, but I understand they want to go on popularity, but this is a game for fans. And the fact of the matter is that they are including characters that I just believe could have filled another slot. Because we are missing a lot of staples in the Jump series. Now, forgive me for not knowing where certain rights currently are held by anybody, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that it is entirely possible that this game could have and should have included, some Shaman King characters. Once again, you can limit it to one, like My Hero Academia and Black Clover did in this game, or you could limit it to two, main character, main villain from each series. That's fine. But I'm going to just list a few series that are seriously missing. And that is, once again, Shaman King, Toriko, Medica Box, Beelzebub. Already there are 4 series, and I'm sure there's more in your own list. But there's 4 series with characters that could easily have been in this game and aren't. And I don't know why. Because, yes, I understand. We can't just have Goku and Frieza. We need our fan favorites like Piccolo and Trunks and Vegeta. But could we not have gotten rid of a couple of characters? Like, even though Bleach is one of my favorite, get rid of Renji. In Naruto, get rid of Boruto. That's just a waste of time. I know they're trying to push the material, but come on. Get rid of Boruto and Gaara. Get rid of, in Dragon Ball Z, once again, you could get rid of Cell. And there, you've already opened up a few slots. It's not difficult. I understand that they're supposed to try to go with the fan favorites here. And Boa Hancock is there randomly just for the sake of titties. So I just would have really preferred if they had stopped promoting basically this game is One Piece, Bleach, Naruto, and Dragon Ball Z with some DLC characters on the side. And because that's what it became, instead taking only a maximum of 3 to 4 from those series and filling out the other slots with a multitude of as many different characters as possible. So because some of the characters I enjoyed much more were people like Jojo was there, and we had Kenshiro, and we had City Hunter there. I always forget his name, Rio, forget his name. But either way, we had a multitude of great characters. Put it to you this way, from the last entry in the list, from the 40th character up to the 20th, is far more interesting than the first, because you go through the first 20, you've only gone through about 2 universes. That's not fun. That's not a collaboration. That's not a mesh. That's an oversaturation of a few other series that just happen to be more popular. And that's not what we wanted as fans. At least that's not what I wanted. Now, the rest of the gameplay style, the free roam around the main hub is fine. There's no sense in dividing the teams. I found that stupid. It has zero bearing on the story and very other little bearing on the rest of the gameplay. Nothing that I noticed to impede me or increase me in any way, shape, or form. Some of the way the S ranking works, and a lot of the way, once again, the power scaling is totally off for story mode. You can play every mission and you can play every story mode mission, but you will eventually be behind. Unless you're really good at the game and get the knack of it more quickly than I did, you will be very behind. I found myself having to power level constantly simply to get high enough to finish the story. And all that did was make me hate the story even more. A story I did not even care about. So, yeah, overall, and once again, and the soundtrack, I don't even remember it. Was it even any good? I don't think. Yeah. So far, the only good thing I've taken away from this was there was a bit of novelty getting to play as Himura Kenshin, one of my favorite manga characters, and some of the other characters like Ichigo and stuff like that. It was fun being able to have that kind of novelty and see everyone's special attack. Yugi summoning Slifer, of course, Gear Forth, things like that. Super Saiyan God Vegeta. These things are really cool, but at the end of the day, that novelty wears off, and that was not worth my $90. Canadian, guys, Canadian. But that was not worth my $90 that I paid to get this game. I forced myself literally to sit down and play through it because I spent that $90. And we all know that there's not a shop in the Western Hemisphere, in anywhere, that will accept, once you buy that game, that price tag just dropped down by over 70%. You won't get $20 for that game anymore. So there was no sense in returning it. I wasn't going to get enough money back. So I forced myself to play through it, and at the end of the day, as you can tell, because here's what happened, the final part of this video, here's what happened with the trophies. The trophies ended up very easily. I managed to do the multiplayer trophies, and we all know that multiplayer trophies are the bane of trophy hunters' existence. They suck, and so do online trophies. Even worse, multiplayer online trophies, which is usually the case, are the absolute worst things invented. They are awful because it does not show any skill level on my side. It shows that I managed to go on a boosting form and find somebody willing to participate with me to get this trophy. And then you have completely broken ones like in Elder Scrolls Online, which is the whole reason I stopped playing the game. If I will never get that platinum, if that bar will always stay at 99 no matter what I do, I have other responsibilities, I have other games to play. Your game, I'm sorry Bethesda, but even Elder Scrolls is not good enough for me to sit there and waste away my life trying to get somewhere that I might not ever be good enough. Getting to the top of the leaderboard is what I'm talking about. So things like that, right? I managed to do these multiplayer trophies, but it's the last few trophies. I'm at somewhere at the 80% mark, something like that, and I've gotten a lot of the trophies, but it's the grinding ones, like getting a million gold and spending a million gold, getting 1,000 items. Now I can grind these out, probably give me a few days, but how boring! I end up falling asleep. I have a pretty comfy chair in my living room where I play my games, and let me tell you one thing. I fall asleep in that thing if I'm that bored, and I've fallen asleep more than once playing this game. That's how boring it gets to grind, because once again, the gameplay is not enticing. It's not enjoyable. You simply cheapen the matches. It's like using Keelik in Soul Calibur 2. There's no challenge in it. You just keep spamming. It's not that fun. And at the end of the day, there's a couple other trophies, like getting 10 S ranks. 1 S rank maybe, but 10 S ranks on expert missions? I don't even like playing expert missions. Level 100 missions just made to, just make me have to grind all the way and actually have to pay attention to what I'm doing. And it's still not enjoyable gameplay. It's just that their health and attacks do more damage. So, At the end of the day, I might go back and platinum it one day, and the trophy list is not terrible. It's not completely broken. I mean, it's mildly difficult, but at the same time, it's also, and it's going to eventually be impossible when the servers get shut down, which is usually the case with online games. This is a big problem. If you buy into an online game, that's fine, but don't make the, like Call of Duty and ones like that, and Fortnite and things, Overwatch, which would have online trophies. That's fine, because you know the game is 90% an online experience. But for games, other games, like, and I'm looking at you, Red Dead, for other games, there is no reason to have multiplayer trophies in single-player games, single-player experiences. It's the reason that some of my trophy lists remain at 70 and 60%. One thing is DLC, which I won't buy, and the other thing, because I will never see the platinum. So I'll never get that bar to 100%. And that irritates me. That just bothers me. So it makes me lose interest after I've gotten most of the single-player trophies. So, is this trophy list terrible? No, but is it a hell of a grind with a very boring game? Oh yeah. Yeah. So, once again, didn't platinum it. Sorry guys, and sorry for the lateness of the review. For all 10 of you that like to watch these reviews, let me know what you guys thought of Jump Force. Did you buy it? Did you play it? Have I deterred you from buying it? I freaking hope so. I hope to save you guys the $90 that it cost me. And if you did play it, do you agree? Or are you a fan of the game? Am I missing the whole point? Am I just not good? Should I get good like the Souls crowd has been telling everyone since those games came out? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe as well. It's always appreciated. It lets me know that I can keep making content like this. And we'll see you back here next time. This is Griever signing out.